He changed the man's destiny. 38 years he wasn't able to work or make any money or have any business or do any opportunity for trade. But when Jesus comes in, the unpredictable expector, he changes the rest of your life. Tell somebody, when Jesus gets involved with you, it affects your present and it affects your future. Yeah. A woman at the well. Predictable thing that she would be to the well getting water. It was predictable because then that was the only way they could get water. To cook with, the baby would have to go to the well and carry it back to the city. And the women were the ones that were known for bringing the water. But something unpredictable happened that day when she got to the well. Now, based on her past, based on her lifestyle, it was very unpredictable, very non-status quo, that she would become the world's greatest evangelist. But there has not been a woman after her that's been able to bring a whole city in one day to Christ. Now, she had a very shady past. She was dealing with some stuff in her past. What am I showing you in 3 unique situations that God will operate in unpredictable ways regardless of your past, regardless of your inability to receive prior to that moment. And also he will not only deal with your present issue, but he'll heal your whole life, even when you weren't expecting him to do it. 3 different situations, and there are people in the community of the church that feel like because of their past, because of where they came from, because of the things that they did, that somehow they don't deserve to have what God has said they can have. But I need to show you in the word, when there's an unpredictable expectation, you'll get an unpredictable achievement or success in your life that is not tied to your past. It's not tied to whether you can or could not before that moment. Jesus will move in supernatural ways and do that which is not predictable. One conversation transformed her whole life and caused her to run into the city and say, I never met a man like this man before. Come and see. And then caused her to be hurt. What was it that Jesus imparted into her that made such an impact that when she released it in the city, that the whole city would follow her to see Jesus? I want that kind of impartation. I want him to deal with me when I go to the well of prayer, when I go to the well of praise, when I get up out of prayer. I want to take away from prayer whatever that woman took away from the well that day. I want him to speak in my life that way and give me that unpredictable level of favor that when I come in contact with people, whatever was going on with Jesus flows through me to them and brings them back to him. That was unpredictable. That was unpredictable. And then we look at Abraham. Abraham had an unpredictable expectation. When God starts dealing with you, God will start with you where you are. And usually he'll go to the lowest place in your life. And then he'll talk about how great he's going to make that part of your life. There are other parts of your life that you feel he could work with a lot quicker. That you feel like if you just come at this point, then you and I can really get something done. But he goes to the most unpredictable area of your life. He starts talking to a man who has not been able to father a child for 75 years. He starts speaking to him and say, a whole nation is going to come out of you. Lord have mercy. And not only will a whole nation, but every other people that shall be born after that will be blessed because of you. He's talking to a man that was not able to give anybody a baby. His wife had not produced anything. I'm talking to some people this morning who have not been able to produce anything in their lives. They haven't been able to show anything for what God has deposited in them. But I'm telling you, if I can shift your mind to a place of unpredictable expectation, that you'll begin to produce and bring forth that which you had not done before. It's a matter of shifting your mind. When you look at Abraham, we go into a process. Then we go into a process in Genesis 15 and verse 5. It says that he brought him forth abroad and said, look now toward heaven and tell the stars. In other words, Abe, can you count the stars? And we know you can't count the stars, but the book of Psalms, according to David, God knows every star by name. Now that's incredible that God is that vast that of the hairs on your head. He named the stars.
Wow.
That's an incredible. My God, that's a vast intellectual capacity that's beyond my natural comprehension. I can meet people this morning and not remember their names by the afternoon. But God named all the stars that are too innumerable to count. And then he knows the number of hairs on my head. That's beyond my understanding. He could be that intimate and that intricate. You know, to the point that when David began to commune with him, he had to step back and say, oh Lord, our Lord, how excellent is just your name in all the earth. And before he was over, he said, what is man that thou art mindful of him? What is it that you put in him that keeps you so excited and involved about what goes on in his life, to the point that you would know the number of hairs on his head? You know, it's things that make you wonder. Here's Abraham, and God's trying to deal with his imagination. He says, if you are able to number them, so shall thy seed be. Look at this. God said, if you're able to look into the sky and number the stars, that's the way your seed is going to be on the earth. Now remember, he's talking to a man that doesn't have any children. He doesn't meet the criteria for that kind of multiplication, because he hadn't been able to produce anything up until this point. Oh God. I'm talking to some people this morning who feel they don't meet the criteria, because they've had this word, they've operated in faith, they've sung Zion songs, they've prayed the right prayer, and still to this point have not been able to be productive. But I've come this morning to speak to those areas in your life that are at their lowest point. The areas where you've given up on and you think nothing is ever going to happen for me in this area. I am come today to raise the level of your expectation, to move from labor to favor. Oh God.